this is Julia with Wichita Lessons, and I'm going to be interviewing Luke today. And he is a fabulous piano teacher that is on our website, and we are excited to interview him and learn a little more about him. Okay, so Luke, before we start, is there anything you would like to say?
Yes, I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you for I'm trying to get some new students. You want to spread. I would say the one thing that differentiates my studio from other studios is the approach. I have a background in karate, and that's always been a main kind of characteristic of my background and just who I am, because there's a sense of discipline, but also a sense of growing and becoming something better. And I think the approach to piano that I take is like climbing a mountain. Getting a black belt is the same. And when you climb a mountain, when you look at it afar, it's a beautiful thing to see. When you see someone perform a piece, it's like, wow, that's amazing. And then when you finally get the courage to go, I want to climb that mountain, you get to the base, and it is just a different view. You look up, and it's just like daunting. You don't think you can do it. And after myself, I would say I've climbed many metaphorical mountains, and the view is just fantastic. The perspective, it changes everything. And I just really love sharing that with other students, getting them to climb it.
Yes.
So the main thing is just having that approach, going, look, we're going to climb a mountain. Climbing mountains are not easy. It's going to take a lot. It's going to take some sacrifice. It's going to take some patience. But when you, even just moving up a little bit, the view gets different. You get closer and closer to that peak. And there's just a sense of accomplishment. And so just moving up is minor goal accomplishments, but then getting to the peak of like performing a piece that we've been working on for 6 months in front of people and it goes so well. You just see them stand up so tall, and there's that sense of just, it encourages me, but it's also that sense of like success, and it's like sure I could partake in it, but it's really like getting to see another human being just be so proud of the accomplishments that they did, and that's like I think that's the main thing that differentiates me from other studios here is because it's not just coming in playing music and just going through a book week after week. It's like no, we are you are sacrificing, you are practicing, you are trying to become a better version of yourself.
Well, that's great. That's wonderful. Absolutely. And it is. It's absolutely a mountain. It's a hard path, but it's so worth it when you get to the top of it. And as a fellow teacher, I agree. It to see other kids, or to see students grow up that mountain, just moving up it little bit by little bit, and that success, and looking around and saying, "See, look at what you've already done." It's absolutely joy to get to do that. I agree. Tell me a little about, tell us a little bit about your background with piano and teaching.
Okay, so went to college and went as a physics major, and that's because I just had started piano, and I was sure that I was going to be a musician. My parents want being a scientist, want being a nurse. They're just like, but we're not going to pay for that, and so I did take some music courses, and I was really just loving it. And over the summer, I had written this piece for cello and piano, and I'm like, I told my parents, just come to the concert. I promise it will change your mind. And that really started it. The faculty did a great performance um, of my piece, and it changed my mind. So I really got into music making, and and from then I just fell in love with music, trying to understand it, and that journey just kept going. And then eventually my piano skills started to catch up because I was starting so late. And then I moved out to Wichita and I was getting my master's in making music. And my teacher encouraged me to obviously develop the writing of the music, but also develop the something that you can have a career. Because when you're writing music, it's just kind of like gig for gig, schedule, and um, so he encouraged me to do piano. We started with young kids, and it was just really fascinating. Just like getting to encourage these kids into something I love, but also really, what's the word? Well, it was just really exciting. Just seeing these young kids that were interested in that really started it. I wasn't very good when I first started, and I think there's a mistranslation or a thought that goes, well, I'm competent at the piano, so I must be competent at the piano teaching. And thankfully for the teachers, really helped foster that. Well, you can be good at the piano, but are you good at communicating how to do it for someone?
Absolutely.
And so,
Well, and a 5-year-old is totally different than a 65-year-old. Trying to teach them and understanding the nuances and differences. Piano pedagogy is also not an easy, for most people anyway, it's not an easy degree. So kudos on that. Because a music degree of any sort there's so much intensity in it, so much practice, and so much involved in getting to that level. Speaking of ages, what ages do you usually work with? What are your favorite ages to work with, and why?
I typically find myself in the 6 to 12 range. It's usually the age that I work with, but I do have some middle schools and high school. I do have a few adults. My favorite?
It's hard.
It's
It's a
hard.
hard
It's hard.
question.
It's like comparing two different cuisines. It's like, well, they're good at two different things. The adult students really kind of we get to go deeper into the subject. We get to go deeper into history, theory, and that really allows uh, me to kind of brush up on my knowledge of it, but also we get to have those deeper conversations. I have a, I have a 6-year-old, so when I'm getting to hang out with the other kids, it's like I'm hanging out with my daughter, and we just get to have fun, and it's just great building their confidence. A lot of them come in thinking, well, first they see that this pattern of black and white keys, and they're so intimidated by it. And then slowly you get to see them kind of like understand it, and there's just that's really exciting because I think everyone just needs to, just need, honestly.
Absolutely. That age is a lot of fun because they're just soaking everything up. And adults are always difficult because they have these expectations when they go in that they should just be able to do it.
Yes.
And that's always, at least for me, that's always been a struggle where I have to tell an adult, you're at the beginning levels, just like the 6-year-olds are, the 10-year-olds. And you've got to be patient with yourself. I always find they have harder time being patient with themselves. Yes. I don't know if you find that too.
Yeah, we would talk about that at WSU. One classic example is a lawyer who's at the top of the field, thinking they're just going to go hop over the piano and be top of the field. And it's what's that classic quote? It's like a black belt knows when to accept it.
Oh, that's tough.
And
yeah.
So, yeah, having that humility to be like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm doing, and that can really shatter
someone's self-image. Oh yeah.
And so being patient with that, but then also encouraging doing small goals. But yeah, that definitely but it's a fun challenge.
Oh, absolutely. It's so much fun. And they always bring you different ideas, it seems like. Like with the kids, they're like, okay, what are we doing next? And the adults are like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, wait, give us a minute.
There's some more decisiveness. They're already, it's not apparent that they've decided to do piano, so they kind of know what they want to do. It's very,
I do. I think that's so much fun. What about, tell me, a story of just a feel-good type story of something that you taught somebody or even just a learning experience that that just warmed your heart, that made you feel good and made you remember, it's one of the reasons you love to do what you do.
So I have this one young student. Parents were kind enough to kind of inform me that she has, I think they described it as a comprehension problem, and it might be a, like just when I would say something, she might not, words might get scrambled, or she might not understand it. And so that's been a real great opportunity for me to be like, how do I say something ways for them to get it, or what's the actual source of confusion. So she was a transfer student, and when I was working with her, we had to go back to the beginning of the book, but they had to do it gently. So she was fine with it. She didn't really object to that, um, but she didn't feel like she that really that hurts, right?
Yeah,
It's just
yeah.
like, man, it's like I need you to be able to do it when I'm not here because you're practicing 6 days a week
Right.
there, and so we spent like 4 months, 5 months just honing in skills. We would do rhythm, we would write down the letters, try to do all these different things, and now she's learning. After had her for about a year, now she's learning how to learn a piece in a and
Wonderful.
rather than like 2 months, right?
Right.
Just on her own, because my style is kind of just you need to figure it out. Like I'm gonna ask you questions, I'm gonna point you in the right direction, but you need to be able to do this without me. So what could we do? What's the way to improve, or what's this piece asking you to do? It's really awesome that we're just kind of like now we're moving through, and so
You feel like you're finally to that point where you can ask her those questions and know that she's going to be able to answer them,
yes.
or if not, be able to help her to get those answers.
Definitely.
It is. That's such a good thing, and it is. There's nothing like finding out that a student might not need you anymore. Like you've got them to that point educationally where they still want to come to you because you still have lots of valuable information, but you know that if they want to try something, they can do it and have decent success with it.
I agree. I always tell them my job with you is to become unemployed. It doesn't seem to make business sense, but you want them to be self.
Yeah, that's the heart of a teacher. 100% is you want them to not need you anymore. You want them to be able to do it without you. Speaking of that, though, what kinds of like do you have materials that you specifically generally like to use, or do you like to really just look at every single individual student? Like if you got two kids that came in and they were both the same age, like typical is about 8 years old for start for piano. So if they were both 8 years old and they were coming from two different families starting the same week, would you generally start them the same way, or would you totally take a different approaches? Would you ask them questions? How would you decide how to start a student?
Well, I'm a big fan of the piano adventures. I usually start them off with that. Usually by the first month, I kind of get an assessment of like, are they enjoying it? I feel like I can categorize them into two rough groups. One that just enjoys learning piano, and that's motivating them. They're getting better. The other one is they need to be playing songs that they're really interested. That's what and not like the other ones aren't, but them specifically, they want to play a Disney song. Some of the older students in middle school, they want to play like the most viral piano, meme or something, and that's definitely encouraging. We'll definitely add that in. Yeah, it's really kind of just assessing like what's gonna get you to
Yeah.
right. Is it like are you getting satisfaction or are you getting satisfaction
That's wonderful. That's wonderful because there are fundamentals that we've got to make sure as teachers that we get to those kids, but yeah, trying to make sure that as soon as we've got them going, that they're enjoying it, so that they want to keep going.
Definitely.
Because we've got to not only create musicians that can play without us, but that want to play.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So I think that's absolutely wonderful. What kind of advice do you have for parents who are thinking about enrolling their kids in piano lessons?
I would always tell them that it's more than kind of going back to my first point. More than just learning how to play music, or it's just more than just going through a book. But we're gonna be developing some skills that can sacrifice. do you want your future self to be good, or do you want to just watch something not practical? And having that switch of going, I'm going to delay gratification now so that my future self can be better. That's something I think everyone, like in whatever field, everyone kind of needs to reflect. Myself,
Oh, yeah.
For working out or just dieting, or just cleaning the house or whatever. It's just you need to kind of put aside now for the future. So I would always say that's the main thing, and then I would reference the triangle. So me, there's a student, and then there's the parent. That makes a triangle.
Yeah.
Right? And that allows my teaching and my teaching philosophy and what I expect to be upheld in and that the parent and I are on the same page. So the student doesn't get away with practicing a different way or doesn't practice.
Right.
It's like we're on the same page, and the kid understands that this is an actual thing that we learn.
Yeah.
And it's something that can ultimately kind of be achieved through coordination.
Now I love this triangle idea. What can you do what do you do that helps that triangle work? Like communication with parents is often an issue, especially when we've got lessons and then we've got another lesson right afterwards and another lesson right afterwards because there's only so many hours in the day.
Yes.
So what kinds of things do you do to help ensure that communication takes place with the parents too?
Yeah. Usually after a lesson, I try to reserve about 3-4 minutes to talk to the parent, keep them updated with learning. And if there's something specific that I want them to do that's new for the student, I might just go ahead and explain what the process looks like. I had this one student, and the first lesson I had, and the parents were kind of like, "Really? That's what we're doing?" We spent the first lesson on just sitting at the piano properly, having our hands in the proper position, the right distance from the piano, and that's all we learned. I mean, I obviously spent time doing it, but that's all we learned. And the parents were like, I thought we were learning music. I thought that's what we were doing. And I'm just like, yes, but this is like the framework of being a good player. You need to have those things in place. And also, this is establishing like these things that might just seem like, oh, we're just learning to sit at the piano. It's like, no, these are fundamental. So we're gonna take the time this week, and you're gonna ask her, can you go sit at the piano? Because you're a distance away.
Right.
And so I would say that's my approach.
That's great. Now, what about like parents sitting in? Some parents like to be really, really involved in lessons, and other parents like to be totally, it's my kids' thing, and I just want them to have that relationship, and I want to be out of it. So, like, do you welcome parents in during lessons? Do you suggest that they stay out and have that time just to be with you and the student? And maybe a little bit at the end where it's both, or how do you like to structure
I do feel parents know their kids better than I do. I can get an understanding because sometimes kids act differently with their teachers. But yeah, I definitely encourage parents to come in and to see what I'm doing. Typically, I would say most of them, the new ones might sit in for a couple weeks, and I trust them. Or it seems like going well. I did have a couple parents that just wanted to stay in for a while, and that was fine. If it ever got to the point where it was interrupting the flow, or the child was being distracted, or I don't know, not allowing themselves to be challenged, well, can you call them, kind of. So I might have a conversation with the parent, but typically, I think when they're present in the lesson, it's going to be between me and the kid, and they're going to learn. And I think also having a kid, there's this. I would say I've had a few conversations with teachers that aren't parents, and they always feel a little hesitant to speak up when a child is. And kids are going to mess around.
Oh, yeah.
When they're messing around and it's interrupting the flow, I have no problem because I have a 6-year-old. like, hey, we need to stop that. We need to focus on this. Some
Right.
other ones are like, hey, bud, can we? And so I feel like there's this parent understanding between us that
Yes.
it's like, okay.
He understands.
He understands.
And there are definitely times where you need those kid gloves that they call them, and there's other times when you need to say, we've only got 30 minutes once a week, and we need to be able to focus. So you need to stop this, and sometimes it's really hard. Some of them are super wiggle squiggles.
Yes, and that's totally fine for the wiggling part. I think it's when they get distracted or and I always go, oh, I thought you wanted to get a sticker today. I guess not. And they're like, no, I want to get a sticker. And I really use the scented stickers, and the sense that memory has the biggest source of memory is scent. So when you smell a familiar thing, you can go back to a childhood memory. And so when you associate positive reinforcement with the smell, that seems to be the best source of reward. I don't know. There's a sense of like I pick the scent, and when I do it, it smells so good, and I'm leading up to a prize. And so, but I think wielding the stickers. Well, I guess. And it's not even like I'm gonna take it. It's like, oh, I thought you wanted it. I guess you don't want it. And they're like, no, I want it.
Stickers are amazing, aren't they? I even find with teenagers they love stickers. Like, I didn't get my sticker. Oh,
right. And he's like, it's like, is that a kid thing? It's like, no, I think everyone can appreciate it.
Yes. Well, and they smell like smelly good ones are so good. I've never thought about that relationship with the scents, but you're absolutely right. There's so many scents in our history that we smell that are good or positive or negative.
Yeah.
And if you can incorporate some of those positive things, that's one more sense. Because, music does like all the other senses.
It does, yeah, definitely. Yeah, incorporate that smell.
So that's a great thing. Now, speaking of incentives, so you were saying you use stickers and prizes. So how do you use those kind of things, and how did they help? Are there other things that you use for motivation? Or
yeah, I would definitely say. So the main one being, if you come to the lesson, you do everything I've asked. Let's say you practice every day of the week. That's another sticker that you can get. Let's say you just wow me with a performance. Like I'm gonna have to. It's all about the positive affirmation or reinforcement. And so that's the big one. That's like the main one. But some other students, like in middle school, they're coming from school, so they're tired. You need to motivate them. Sometimes we'll be like, okay, they would. I have a few students that want to show me like a YouTube. So you do this. At the end, you can show me, and we'll laugh about it. Oh yeah. And they're like, really?
I could do that.
I could do that. And it's like there's a new kid in the room, and they're ready to go. So just kind of engaging on that level in terms of what they really want. Yeah.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Well, we're going to wrap it up. I've just loved talking with you. Is there anything else, any other things that we didn't talk about that you would like to talk about before we wrap it up?
I would say the studio, like I said, was all about kind of going up the mountain. We really try to encourage all the students to perform. It's not a requirement, but I do think it's something that's really beautiful. And so some studios, not all, but I know some studios that kind of just do the lessons. We really try to have some end goal for this piece. And so we have a spring and a fall recital, and they are included with the tuition, so there's no extra fee. And it's a kind of a wonderful thing to kind of all the parents come together, enjoy everyone's performance.
Kids always ask about the cookies. What kind? Are you gonna have cookies?
Yeah. We just had a recital, and I went talking to some people in the performance hall, and I went out, and there wasn't even a crumb left.
Those cookies are huge incentives.
They are.
Those are the smelly good stickers.
Yes. But yeah, I would say if anyone's looking to, my main things are building confidence, develop self-discipline, and if we have a coordination from the parent and the student, I guarantee we can get a student on stage performing a level at their piece at their level in 6 months. Honestly,
That's wonderful.
That's my
really
main.
good. Well, that's wonderful. Why don't you let everybody know the easiest way to get a hold of you? And I'll make sure to add some more stuff.
Yeah. I'm Luke Riches. I own Riches Piano, or Riches Music Studio. And so you can go to richesmusicstudio.com. You can message me there. You can also text me at my phone number that's listed on the website, or come visit during the afternoon hours at the art park. I'd love to come meet you, talk with you, and see if you're interested in doing piano lessons.
Great. Oh, and sorry, we're not totally done because I forgot to ask. What about locations? Do you just teach here at the art park, or do you teach other ways as well?
I do. I do offer online classes if that's the only way that is possible. I also will go to their house if it's fits the schedule. And then I do have a home studio that's on the west side. Sometimes they don't want me to drive. I have some students that are moving to the west side, so they're going to start coming to the home studio. So we have an east and west location.
Wonderful. Yeah, I didn't know that. I know a lot about Luke, but I did not know that you have West Side now too. So that is wonderful. We've always got people looking for West Side.
Oh, that's good.
So wonderful. Thank you so much for sitting with me. And I hope you have a great day.
Yes, you
and
too, Julia.
have fun teaching.
Thank you.